Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala khayril mursalin. Muhammadin Nabi Ummi wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd, yaqulu Allah Ta'ala fil Quran al-Kareem, inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna 'alan nabi. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi was-sallimu tasliman. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Maulana Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It's related on the authority of Tawban radiallahu anhu. Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as saying, if you say this 3 times in the morning and in the evening, Allah has made it incumbent upon himself to please him on the day of judgment. That means Allah has made it incumbent upon himself to please you. You know, like there's, I know at least one place in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, I have ordained on myself the rule of mercy. So that clears up everything. That Allah don't have to do nothing to make me and you happy. But Allah have ruled on himself the rule of mercy. Do you know that in the Quran? Mm-hmm. It's in there, yeah, it's clear. And what's that saying? That this is something Allah put on himself. And it ain't no big deal. Well, it ain't no big, it's a big deal for us, but it's not a big deal for Allah. Because we can't put nothing on Allah, but he can put it on himself. And just imagine that he ordained for himself the rule of mercy. That's a big deal for you and I at the Ummah. But here, it said, I'm satisfied with Allah as my Lord, Islam is my religion, and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as the messenger of Allah. So this is what Allah is saying to us. If we do this, and if we say this, I'm satisfied with Allah as Lord. Now, saying you're satisfied with Allah as Lord is one thing, but when it creeps in your life, you might have a little bit of work to do. Let me see if I can find just a few. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. Say, if it be that your fathers, your sons, or brothers, your mates, your kindred, the wealth which you have gained, the comforts in which you fear a decline, or the dwellings in which you delight, are dear to you than Allah and his messenger, and the striving in his cause, then wait until we bring about his decision. And Allah guides not the rebellious. There's another ayah just before that which talks about those who believe and suffer exile and strive with might and main in the cause of Allah with their goods and their person have the highest rank in the sight of Allah. They are the people who will have salvation or achieve salvation. So it's very clear Because for the average person, dealing with family, mates, friends, and all of those type of people, that's a big deal. And sometimes it may just happen that you may have to deal with all of those things directly. And of course, the general belief is, my belief is, when Allah hooked it up for you, He will have prepared you for that type of a mission. It might have been over a long period of living, life experiences. And sometimes, and then at other times, some people really appreciate their life experiences. Because it comes a time that if Allah hooked up things for you in a certain way to please Himself, and hook you up, maybe even to get you to slide into paradise, maybe it's something like that, The life that a person lives it may look deep, it may look hard to do, it may look like I wouldn't do that. And I can imagine in this thing right here, because this involves wives, children, families, friends, everybody, Now, sometimes it develops like it did with the prophets and the Anbiya and many righteous people we don't even know about. That when it came time for them to put out the message the way they received it, it may be that nobody wanted to really hear it. Well, that's the way the scriptures put it. Like, generally people don't want to hear it. And the Quran gives you ideas they cover up, but they hide, they don't want to hear it. Now, for the general population, it's one thing. But sometimes you get blessed where maybe almost nobody want to hear it. And it may be as clear as this stuff is now. Like right now, it don't need to be any clearer to the average person. That's looking. Okay, I'll put it this way. For you and I, it's clear that this stuff makes sense. The forecasting makes sense, the follow-up makes sense, time, place, and circumstances in which we live, it makes sense. It all fits. Okay, so technically you could wonder how people don't get it. People that appear to be reasonably intelligent and that see the same thing you see, hear what you hear, and if they just have read the Quran in a cursory manner, just breezing through it from time to time, they should pick this stuff up, right? If they done read a handful of hadith from time to time, that should have prepared them for what we're dealing with right now. So that takes us back to one of our favorite ayats. We'll try to put it in context here. It's the one on Kal Sadid, and that Allah will Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will place you in a certain position, and last week with a hadith on Musa alayhi salam, where the people was talking about him, and they had Allah had a rock snatch his clothes, they had his clothes drying on while he was cleaning up, and the rock ran off with his clothes and ran right in front of everybody. Now, people can take that any way they want it. The way I took it is that the people had been talking about Moses, and he got some bodily problems, and he probably got a little disease over it. And Allah wanted to show everybody that that ain't happening. So that's why, things happen the way they happen. Or the hadith is explaining it in a way that we can get it. Whether the rock, a physical rock, ran away with his stuff, we'll let the hadith scholars and interpreters of Quran deal with those things. But anyway, let me get to what we had here. So, oh, you believe, fear Allah, and always say a word directed to the right. We didn't deal with this ayat a lot before, but this ayat is one of those ayats that carry, and what the whole Quran carries tons of weight when you explain it and when you understand it. But in this, it's very potent at this period of time, sometime before, and maybe it'll stay like this a while, that we have some choices in life. And some choices is whether to be popular, to be well-liked, and to be, accepted. And we look at many of our scholarly people and speech makers. The people be takbir when they come out. Takbir, Allahu Akbar, and they seem to like them. But I don't know, when they by themselves, I don't know what they think, because some of those people, they make fun of them. But once you start being a fool, you don't know when they're making fun of you or not. And here he comes, Imam, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Like he's supposed to run up, jump on the stage, do the splits, and get to rolling. Now, that's the way the speakers have gotten so used to them, and they have sold themselves for so little that the people see them how they are. Hey man, you could be doing big stuff, but you're here letting us make a fool out of it. So since you want to be made fool out of, I'm going to participate. Nobody wrote a contract with that and saying that, but people get a feeling. And here he comes, da-da-da-da, they run up and they get to roll. If those people who spoke a word directly toward the right, if African American imams were to speak what they really understand about America, they could lead, not that nobody is desiring to lead, but they could carry the Islamic movement in a whole different way, with a whole lot of force, and make it where they can help the people learn how to do away with what they love for Euros. Over 40 years ago, about 40 years ago. Plainfield, I'm thinking of the white boy's name, they put him in the head of Dawah. And then vice president, they made, I remember him, Dawah Zwink, I don't know if you remember, Dawah Zwink. And they made him deputy amir or something. And we're going to give dawah, Islamic dawah. At that time, you wasn't going to give it to nobody but black people. And the Muslims of those days and today had inferiority complexes for white people, you know. And everybody knows it, you know. Like immigrants that have spoken here have admitted it as much as we have, that if they know a Pakistani gonna get married, he wanna marry a light Pakistani. In fact, they might have it worse than Negroes do, because of Aryans, Davidians, and all of that light and darkness way back. It's a long story. And they may not know how a Negro is going to take them running, like right now, and bowing down to euros. I remember this big old fat guy, Estes, Yusuf Estes. Now, do you remember over at one of the universities, Siraj was speaking over there about 20 years ago, and all of us went over there.
I didn't make that one.
Okay, and Siraj said, Imam Musa, my Imam. Because I had told him something in California, he was doing that drug busting, and I didn't tell him in exact words, but everybody knew it was a copy of what we had laid out years before. If he started in '89, we was wrapping it up in '86. So, Yusuf Estes had been talking to me on the phone. I tell you what, we were still over on 8th Street. Yeah, I'll be, well, no, we have to have you out here in Virginia, right across the street, and da-da-da-da-da-da. But when Siraj uses Siraj's program too, when Siraj said, my Imam Musa, that boy looked at me and he turned. He ain't spoke to me since. And that program that I was supposed to go to Northern Virginia, he was already heading up the students in Dawa. Anyway, from then on, he never said a good word to me, because he knew something I had said in some lectures to let everybody know that I know who they are, you know, and that the inferiority complexes, let me speak of inferiority complexes of Muslims is something that Dr. Khalid Siddiqui and all the people in South Africa, you have to remember that, I don't know if you remember him saying it, but Dr. Khalid Siddiqui said that we all know about racism. And I'm talking in South Africa, and Indian, and mixtures of African. He said, but Imam Musa that put this, whatever I had said, it had encapsulated, you know what I mean? If it was impressive in South Africa, it had to be something, you know. And when that was said, he also said, this is a good man, He was telling the people, because when we left, on the 16th, he died on the 18th, or it was on some days like that. He died 2 days after we left. And he got in the car and rode to the airport, which the airport is way so it was one of the drivers, and there was him, and then there was Bahia, and there was me. Sister Bahia was with me, so he kept explaining to me certain things. And she said, what is he trying to say? I said, I don't know what it is. Because I knew who I'm riding with. I don't get it. You know. But he was saying, I'm leaving with you a heavy responsibility. Those are the words he used. This is the big deal. Now, he ain't rode to the thing with nobody else, you know, and he ain't talked to nobody else like that. The point is that you have to speak a word to truth. It don't make no difference whether you're Noah and your son gonna run off till he get drowned, you know, or any of the other people in Quran and Hadith. You know, okay, we have to admit, like 95 or almost 98% of the people are not going to be prepared for that. But sometime, maybe if you realize the good life that Allah has given you already, you just breeze through that. And that's what this ayah is saying to me. Speak a word directed to the right. There's another ayah for the Shifan, what we started with, if mother's father will father's son, right. That you have to tell them the truth too. And if they don't listen, of course you love them, but it's too bad. That's the way it goes. You pray for them, but you leave them in Allah's hands. And that does come up when you take a mission, you know. And other people might get to that point, while all along the way there are signposts, and sometimes there are stop signs, and then there's go signs. The stuff that happened to you, many of the people would take that as a stop sign. I can't do that, it's too big for me. To tell everybody, hey, you can go on about your business on it. Because this ayah right here, or you believe, fear Allah and always say a word directed to the right.